If I could sit every young woman down before she turns 25 and just pour some truth into her ear, this would be it. Dating in your late teens and early 20s feels exciting, but it's also one of the most confusing times because nobody really teaches you what to watch out for. We get told how to look good, how to be dateable, how to keep a man interested, but barely anyone sits you down and says, hey, here's how to recognize when something isn't right. The truth is, so many women waste years of their life in relationships that never should have lasted more than a few dates. Not because they're dumb, not because they're naive, but because red flags often show up looking like romance. They disguise themselves as passion, as attention, as he just really cares. And by the time you realize it's toxic, you've already invested your time, your emotions, maybe even your body, or your future plans. That's why I'm making this video. I don't care if you're 18 or 28 or 38, these red flags matter. But if you can spot them before you hit 25, you'll save yourself years of heartbreak and wasted time. You'll raise your standards earlier, you'll recognize what healthy love actually looks like, and honestly, you'll stop confusing pain with passion. I need you to see this as giving you a filter, a lens, so that you stop entertaining people who should have never had access to you in the first place. 1. Love bombing. If you're under 25, this is the red flag that probably looks the least suspicious, as it appears incredibly appealing on the surface. Love bombing is when someone comes on way too strong, way too fast. They shower you with attention, gifts, long texts, big promises, and dramatic declarations of love, all before they've even had the chance to really know you. Now, don't get me wrong, attention feels good. Compliments feel good. When someone's into you, it's natural for them to be excited. But here's the difference. Healthy interest has balance. Love bombing has no breaks. It's like going from 0 to 100 overnight. You've just met this guy, and suddenly he's saying things like, I've never felt this way about anyone before, or I can see us together forever. You're not even a month in, and he's already planning a future marriage and babies with you. Why is this a red flag? Because love bombing isn't about you. It's about control. People who do this are trying to hook you emotionally as fast as possible before you even have time to see who they really are. They overwhelm you with so much intensity that you mistake it for depth. You think, wow, I must be so special. He must really see something in me. But in reality, he doesn't even know you well enough to love you yet. Love bombing is a setup. Once they feel like you're hooked, the switch usually flips. That constant texting slows down. The compliments disappear. The big promises never happen. Suddenly, you're left chasing the high of how it felt in the beginning. And that's exactly where they want you stuck in a cycle of trying to get back to the version of them that was never real in the first place. Here's how to spot it. If the pace of the relationship feels unrealistically fast, if the words don't match the timeline, if it feels more like a movie script than two people actually getting to know each other, pause. Ask yourself, does this person love me, or do they love the idea of me? Healthy love takes time. It grows. It doesn't pressure. It doesn't overwhelm. And the scary thing? A lot of women mistake love bombing for real love. They think, finally, someone who isn't playing games. Finally, someone who's all in. But in reality, it's just another game, a manipulative one. The biggest protection you can give yourself is patience. Don't confuse intensity with intimacy. Don't confuse obsession with love. Remember this. A man who truly cares for you will not try to rush your emotions. He will let things unfold naturally, because healthy love has no reason to sprint. 2. Inconsistent communication and mixed signals. This one messes with your head the most, because it keeps you guessing, and when you're guessing, you're investing way more energy than you should. Here's how it usually plays out. One day, he's blowing up your phone, telling you how much he likes you, planning dates, making you feel like a priority. Then suddenly, he disappears. Texts slow down, calls stop, days go by, and you hear nothing. And just when you start to pull back or think, okay, I guess he's not into me, he pops up again with a flirty text or some half-hearted, hey, miss you, and boom, you're back on the hook. This back and forth is not an accident. Some people do it on purpose because they like the control. Others do it because they're immature, selfish, or just not that interested. But either way, the result is the same. You're left in emotional limbo. You're constantly wondering, does he like me? Did I do something wrong? Should I text him first? That's not connection. That's confusion. Here's the thing. When someone is serious about you, you don't have to decode their behavior. You don't need to analyze the gaps between messages or wonder if silence means rejection. Consistency is one of the clearest signs of real interest. If he says he'll call, he calls. If he says he wants to see you, he follows through. You don't have to chase, you don't have to beg. But a lot of young women mistake mixed signals for passion. They think the highs and lows mean the relationship is deep or complicated. No, that's not depth, that's instability. And instability in dating will always turn into instability in the relationship. If you start out confused, you'll stay confused. The emotional danger here is that inconsistency trains you to accept crumbs. It makes you start celebrating bare minimum effort, like, he finally texted back after 3 days. But sis, that's not a win, that's proof that you're being strung along. You deserve consistency. You deserve to know where you stand. You deserve clarity. Here's the mindset shift. If a man's communication makes you feel anxious, uncertain, or constantly second-guessing yourself, that's a red flag, not a puzzle to solve. Healthy love is steady. Healthy love is reliable. And if he can't even be consistent in the talking stage, trust me, it will not magically get better in a relationship. So, the rule is simple. If you have to wonder how he feels about you, that's already your answer. 3. Controlling behavior disguised as care. This one is sneaky because, at first, it doesn't feel like a red flag at all. It feels flattering. It feels like he really cares. Here's what I mean. Maybe he says, I don't like it when you go out with your friends so late. I just worry about you. Or, do you really need to wear that dress? Other guys are going to stare, and I don't like that. Or, I don't want you talking to that guy. He's not good for you. On the surface, those comments might sound protective. It's easy to mistake them for signs of love. You might even think, wow, he must really care about me if he's this invested. But here's the truth. Care protects your freedom. Control takes it away. When someone truly cares, they'll respect your choices, your independence, your friendships, and your right to make your own decisions. When someone wants control, they'll slowly shrink your world until everything you do is filtered through their approval. The reason this is so dangerous in your early 20s is that it starts so small. It rarely shows up as, you can't do this or that. Instead, it comes in little comments, disguised as concern. Over time, those comments add up. Suddenly, you find yourself changing your clothes to avoid an argument, avoiding friends because it's not worth the fight, or keeping parts of your life secret so he doesn't get upset. That's not love, that's control, and control always escalates. The more power you give away, the more they'll take. Today it's your outfit, tomorrow it's who you can hang out with. Eventually, it can turn into what job you take, where you live, or even how you see yourself. I want you to really hear this. A man who loves you will never be threatened by your freedom. He'll encourage you to live fully. He'll celebrate your friendships. He'll love that you look good when you dress up. He won't need to police you because he trusts you, and trust is the real proof of care. So, how do you spot the difference? Pay attention to how you feel after these concerned comments. Do you feel supported, or do you feel smaller? Do you feel free, or do you feel restricted? Care makes you feel safe. Control makes you feel boxed in. And here's the hard part. When you're under 25, it's easy to confuse possessiveness with passion. You might think, he's just jealous because he likes me so much. But jealousy isn't love. Possessiveness isn't love. Love doesn't need to cage you to keep you close. If you take nothing else from this section, remember this. A healthy partner doesn't clip your wings. They stand back and admire how far you can fly. If you ever feel like you're giving up parts of yourself just to keep the peace, that's not someone caring for you. That's someone controlling you. And you don't need to wait until it gets worse to walk away. 4. Disrespecting your boundaries. Your boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your peace, your body, your time, and your values. They're the yes and no that make you, you. A healthy relationship not only respects those boundaries, it honors them. But here's the problem. When you're younger, especially under 25, it's common to let boundaries slide because you don't want to be difficult or lose him. And that's exactly how a lot of women end up in situations they regret. Disrespect can show up in small ways at first. Maybe you say, I don't want to talk about this right now, and he keeps pushing. Maybe you say, I'm not comfortable with that yet, and he laughs it off or tries to guilt trip you. Maybe you need space, and instead of giving it to you, he blows up your phone. These may not seem huge in the moment, but they are big indicators of how someone sees your needs. Think about it. If a man can't respect a simple boundary, like not wanting to share your phone password or needing a night to yourself, what do you think will happen with the bigger things? Your career choices, your family decisions, your body. Boundaries only work if both people understand that no means no, without debate, without manipulation, without punishment. And here's something a lot of women overlook. Sometimes the disrespect comes wrapped in charm. He might say things like, come on, don't be like that. I just love being around you so much when you've asked for space. Or, if you really cared about me, you'd do this. That's not love. That's pressure. Real love respects the word no. Real love knows that your comfort matters just as much as theirs. Let's be honest. When you're under 25, you might not even be super clear on your own boundaries yet. And that's okay. But here's the key. The right person will give you the room to figure them out. They'll listen when you say you need something. They won't test every line you draw just to see if they can cross it. Boundaries are about more than rules. They're about respect. If you set one and it keeps getting ignored, you're not in a relationship, you're in a power struggle. And if you're constantly explaining or defending why your no should be taken seriously, that's not a miscommunication, that's a red flag. So here's the bottom line. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need to over-explain them. You just need someone who understands that your comfort matters. Because if a man can't respect your boundaries, he doesn't deserve access to you, period. Avoiding accountability. Let me be blunt. If a man can't take accountability, he is not relationship material. He is not ready for a healthy relationship, period. Avoiding accountability can look a lot of different ways. Maybe he never apologizes, or when he does, it's that half apology like, I'm sorry you feel that way, which isn't really an apology at all. Maybe he constantly blames other people for his mistakes. The fight wasn't his fault. It was your overreaction. He didn't cheat. It was because you weren't giving him enough attention. He got fired from his job, but it was because his boss was jealous. Do you see the pattern? Nothing is ever his responsibility. And at first, it might not seem like a big deal. You might even brush it off. But here's the danger. Accountability is the foundation of growth. If he can't own his mistakes, he'll never learn from them. And if he never learns, you're going to live in the same cycle of frustration over and over. Think about what that looks like long term. Every argument becomes a blame game. Every mistake becomes your fault. You'll start questioning yourself constantly, wondering if maybe you are the problem, when really, you're just dealing with someone who refuses to look in the mirror. That's not partnership, that's manipulation. Here's what accountability should look like. When he messes up, he admits it without making excuses. He says, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. I'll do better. And then, this is the important part, he actually changes his behavior. Accountability isn't just words, it's action. If someone says sorry, but keeps doing the same thing, they're not sorry. They're just using words to smooth things over. Now, if you're under 25, you might not realize how big this red flag is yet. But I promise you, it is exhausting to carry the weight of two people's mistakes in a relationship. If you're the only one ever reflecting, apologizing, and trying to grow, you will burn yourself out. And you'll end up thinking love is supposed to feel like constant self-blame. It's not. So here's the bottom line. A man who avoids accountability is showing you who he is, and you need to believe him. Don't waste your 20s trying to teach grown adults how to take responsibility. Save your energy for someone who already gets it, because accountability is not optional, it's basic. All talk, no action, empty promises. This one hurts because it often starts with so much hope. The man who says the right things but never backs them up with real effort. Here's how it usually goes. He tells you he's going to call, but doesn't. He says, "I'll take you out this weekend," but cancels last minute. He promises he'll do better after an argument, but the same thing happens again. Maybe he even paints this big, exciting future, moving in together, traveling, marriage, but months later, nothing has changed. It's all just words. And listen, words are cheap. Anybody can say, "I love you," "I'll change," or "I'll be there." The question is, do their actions line up with their mouth? If they don't, that's not a partner you can build with. That's someone who's stringing you along with hope while giving you nothing real to hold on to. The tricky part is, when you're younger, it's easy to get stuck in the cycle of believing potential over reality. You might think, well, he said he'll do it. Maybe I just need to give him more time. Or, he talks about our future, so that must mean he's serious. But talk without action is just a lullaby. It's meant to keep you comfortable enough to stay even though nothing is changing. Here's the dangerous part. If you keep accepting words without proof, you start lowering your own standards. You stop expecting follow-through. You stop expecting effort. And before you know it, you're doing all the work while he gets away with making promises he never intends to keep. The truth is simple. Consistency is what builds trust, not sweet words. You'll know someone's character by what they do, not what they say. If he says he'll show up, he should show up. If he says he's serious about you, it should show in his actions, not just in late-night texts or future fantasies. So here's the standard I want you to remember. Stop letting people off the hook just because they said something nice. Hold them accountable for their actions. Love is a verb, not a paragraph. If he keeps talking but never delivering, he's not serious about you, he's just serious about keeping your attention. Bottom line, if a man's words and actions don't match, believe the actions. Always. 7. Putting you down, even as jokes. This one doesn't get talked about enough, but it's one of the clearest signs that someone doesn't truly respect you. A man who constantly puts you down, even if he hides it behind jokes. Here's how it usually shows up. You make a comment, and he laughs, and says something like, "Wow, you're so dumb sometimes." Or maybe you get dressed up, and he goes, "Nice try," but you're not pulling that off. Or you talk about a goal you're excited about, and he smirks and says, "Yeah, sure, like that's ever gonna happen." Then, when you react, he quickly says, "Relax, I'm just kidding, you're too sensitive." That right there is the trick. He gets to insult you, chip away at your confidence, and then hide behind the excuse of humor. But here's the truth. Constant jokes at your expense aren't jokes. They're small knives. And over time, those little cuts add up. Why is this such a red flag? Because healthy relationships are built on respect. The person who claims to love you should be your biggest encourager, not the one tearing you down. If every interaction leaves you feeling smaller, less confident, or second-guessing yourself, that's not love. That's erosion. And let me be clear. Everyone teases here and there. Playful banter can be fun, but there's a difference between playful teasing and habitual put-downs. Playful teasing makes you both laugh. It feels lighthearted, but constant jokes that target your looks, intelligence, or dreams, those aren't funny. They're about power. What makes this especially dangerous in your early 20s is that you might not even realize the effect right away. You brush it off. You tell yourself, "Oh, that's just his sense of humor." But little by little, your self-esteem starts to shrink. You stop sharing your goals because you don't want to be mocked. You stop wearing certain things because you don't want comments. You stop speaking up because you don't want to be laughed at. And suddenly, the person you thought loved you has trained you to silence yourself. That's not partnership. That's emotional sabotage. Here's the truth. A man who loves you will want you to shine. He'll gas you up when you're doubting yourself. He'll celebrate your wins, not minimize them. He'll tease in ways that make you laugh, not question your worth. And most importantly, he'll never make you feel like the butt of the joke. So here's the standard you need to set. If a joke leaves you feeling disrespected, it's not funny, and you don't have to accept it. Someone who hides insults behind humor is showing you their true colors. Believe them. Because love doesn't belittle. Dating in your teens and 20s can feel like a minefield, and it's easy to get caught up in the wrong relationships because nobody ever gave you the manual, but now you have it. These red flags aren't just random warnings, they're signals, reminders that your time, your peace, and your future are too valuable to waste on people who don't deserve access to you. Every woman under 25 needs to understand this. The choices you make in love during these years can set the tone for decades of your life. That's not to scare you, that's to empower you. Because the earlier you learn to recognize disrespect, inconsistency, control, and lack of support, the earlier you can raise your standards and protect yourself from years of unnecessary pain. I want you to remember something. Love is not supposed to drain you. It's not supposed to confuse you. It's not supposed to make you smaller. Real love supports you, builds you, steadies you, and helps you grow. Anything less than that isn't love, it's a distraction. And you don't need distractions when you've got dreams to chase, peace to protect, and a future to build. So don't be afraid to walk away from someone who waves these red flags. Walking away is not weakness, it's wisdom. Saying no to the wrong person creates space for the right one. And the right one won't need convincing, won't need constant excuses, and won't make you question your worth. You are the prize. Your time is valuable. Your heart is sacred. Protect it. Guard it. And don't settle for someone who treats your boundaries, your growth, or your dreams like they're optional. If you take anything from this video, let it be this. Red flags are not something to work through. They're warnings. And the faster you learn to trust yourself when you see them, the faster you step into the kind of love you truly deserve. So raise your standards. Protect your peace. And remember, a healthy relationship won't cost you your dignity, your independence, or your joy. Anything that does is not love. And you're worth so much more than that.